What's going on, folks? It is Scott Schertzen alongside Mr. Halen Haru from Five Borough Footy. Coming on a little earlier than anticipated in this case here, but that's all good because we're going to talk NYCFC and their 1-0 win over Toronto in Toronto. They are snapping Toronto's four-game unbeaten streak, I should say, in this case. Before I go into my thoughts, sir, how are you? And do you have any thoughts of your own?
How are you? I do have a couple thoughts.
Please.
Great game on the road, bulletproof win, if I may say so. Uh, yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk
Yeah.
a little. Yeah.
At this point, I think it's a better performance than I've seen a little bit. They did get 4 shots on goal, which matched what they had the last 2 games combined because they had 2 and 2.
Oh
So
gosh.
in this case, yeah, it was a little bit of concern, at least on my side of the fence, the fact that this team was struggling to get shots. 4 shots on goal, 9 shots overall. Alonso Martinez drawing the foul. Alonso Martinez getting the PK to
Yeah.
offset the miss that he had recently. And honestly, a good win, I think, overall against a surprisingly and quiet surging Toronto team.
Yeah. It seemed as if I mean they've not been so great, to be quite honest, but at the same time I also think it was a great performance from New York City's defense today. Justin Hack getting the start again over Burke. I'm
We're going to talk
still.
about Burke in a second, by the way.
Yeah. I'm still in the Burt camp, but I'm more and more getting, I'm becoming a huge fan of Justin at the center back position, you know?
Both those guys actually took their abuse today. Burke Reese literally taking a line shot off the face.
For real, yeah.
Massive props on that side of the fence for that. I mean, that's
Do you
you
do you
saw
want
that.
to go
Hmm?
do you want to go player for player on and just
Oh,
kind
we
of
can.
talk about them individually?
Yeah, we definitely can. Um, this is one of the first games I think that's ended so far today.
Hmm.
But yeah, Toronto had 12 shots overall, no shots on goal, by the way. So that was a
Oh,
pretty big deal on its own right. Um, yeah, Juan Carlos didn't get it either. So, all right. So we never got, curiously enough, we had a little bit of a burp. So that's why we started early. But yeah, let's roll with this. I'm going to put the lineups on screen here just so we have it. There we go.
so they outshot us, right?
Yeah, 12 shots overall to 9, but not talking on target, just in general shots.
Right. It for some reason, I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. It didn't feel like Maddie had to work very hard this game.
I don't think so. I mean, obviously, you have to dictate a lot and you got to handle a lot, behind the scenes. But again, not a single shot on goal and a clean sheet. It's another
Yeah,
clean sheet for him, second in a row there too. So
yeah,
credit on that.
yeah.
Also, by the way, we'll also be previewing the fact that this team is going to go into hell starting their next match. They're getting a nice little
Yeah,
break, but we're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
break that one down. And just 5 games in a 2-week period is going to be way too much. But
Oh yeah. Uh, I mean, that's pretty much all I have for Matt. Tavon, I
seeing him back.
anticipated Tavon getting the start this game
Hmm.
because when he came on in place of Misha last game, who has had an amazing start to the season. Let's be clear, Misha's been really good.
Hmm.
But in the that last game and the game previous, his form sort of it has taken a dip. Um, so when Tavon came in, he had it, just like with every other opportunity we've seen in every other spot on the pitch, one guy's form dips, another guy comes in his place. If he performs well, then he gets the nod. And that's what's happened. We see Tavon get the start today when it seemed like Tavon was frozen out at the
Hmm.
start of the season, and he comes in the last game, performs really well, gets a start today, and he was amazing. He was one for me. He was one of the best players on the pitch for
Yeah,
either team.
and it was good, like I said, seeing him getting minutes because it's been an up and down year, up and down couple of years for him.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
seeing him back on the pitch is always a delight because he has that charisma, he has that swag, he has that personality that dictates, yes, I can pull this off, you know,
yeah.
you know,
He's
and
got
it's like I said,
confidence. He's got audacity, and it's and
oh,
it's good
absolute
when
confidence,
he's
yeah.
in those 1v1 duels.
Hmm.
It's very good.
You know,
Uh,
Thiago's
Tavon.
quiet, I think, for the most part. I mean, actually, I'll say
Thiago
this.
was quiet.
Let me just finish on one thing with Tavon. Tavon also, if you noticed at the tail end, he actually had a nice conversation with Sean Johnson. Because obviously, because in this case, Tavon came in 2021 when Johnson was a big reason why that team won the MLS Cup.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So it was nice to see those two reunite because it's been a little weird with Sean Johnson after he left. The words that he had. It's this weird environment. It's like, oh yeah, he was here. We used to love him, and now screw that guy.
Yeah, right. It's a pattern we see with a bunch of former players, but that's a different conversation.
But that entire back line, but go ahead. So
no, it's a Thiago quiet day today, but I think that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
Again,
no shots on goal, so credit. Even if you're not seen so much, that doesn't mean you're not getting the job done.
But he showed up in all the most urgent moments. It seemed, coming across the pitch to the opposite side to clean up, dangerous passes, and he was typical Thiago today, and it felt good to see that.
Yeah. Justin Hack also took a little bit of a knock today. O'Toole as well.
He did.
O'Toole got stepped on. So that entire back,
they took a bunch of knocks. Justin, again, like I said, he's one of my favorites on the back line now. I just love,
Still hate the man bun.
It's the man bun plays.
I hate the man bun.
The man bun plays. Justin, I love that he just takes on all comers, and he's very physical. But his experience in the midfield, it helps him on the back line because in possession he never seems truly phased. Really, for me, he has errors obviously from time to time, but everyone does. But for the most part, he seems pretty comfortable on the ball, and I love seeing him do his thing back there. Kevin had a good game up until the injury, and
he walked it off though.
Yeah, he walked it off pretty well. Let's talk about his sub really quick, Nico.
Yeah,
I'm buying Nico stock early. That kid, he seems composed. He's athletic, patient. When it comes to how he reacts to whatever input is being given to him. And like Tavon, he seems to be welcoming all challengers. And I like seeing that. And of course, true left footer. So those are so rare. Keaton.
Okay. Keaton's Keaton,
yeah.
I think.
An observation I made. So we have Aiden O'Neill.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. We have that new number 6 coming in. And it brings up questions about who look at that midfield right now, actually. That up until now has been probably our best version of the midfield, right? And it brings up questions about which of those 3 are going to have to sit, because one of them will have to sit in place of Aiden, right? And
Johnny Shore would be my first thought.
Johnny Shore would be the first thought because he has the least seniority, right?
Yes.
But when you think about exactly, but when you think about what Johnny brings and how Pascal likes to play, Pascal likes his team to press. He likes a lot of energy. He likes a lot of pace. Players who can cover ground. No offense to Keaton, but it seems as if he no longer can. If the game calls for energy, pace, messiness, I don't know if that's the type of game you want Keaton to start in. There are players who can adapt to whatever the pace of the game is, and Keaton used to be able to do that, but I think he's at a point now where you really want him in games where it's slower. There's more time and space to when it's a low block to break down. That's really what you want him in, not when it gets a little bit messy. That said, I don't think he's fully incapable. It's still Keaton Parks. He's one of the best midfielders in the league. But I just think that there's been sort of a dip when it comes to those particular game states. When the game is faster, he seems to struggle to find the game. Whereas Johnny's the best ball winner in the midfield out of the 3.
And a decade younger.
and a decade
More than a
younger.
decade younger.
He has better legs. He covers more ground. And he just wins the types of balls that plays into the way Pascal wants to play,
Mhm.
right? Whereas like Keaton, the way he wins balls, it's more of a passive rather than aggressive. It's more of a I know how to position myself on the off chance that the ball squiggles out. I know where it's going to go, and that's a crazy skill in and of itself. That's a
Mhm.
hard thing to curate, right? To develop. But Keaton just has this uncanny ability to just be in the right spot to pick up those loose balls, right? But that's not how the game is going to be all the time. And I think Aiden is probably capable of doing that as well. He performs really well in recoveries.
Mhm.
So it could be Keaton sitting out for Aiden and Johnny providing the energy, Aiden picking up those loose balls, and obviously Maxi gets freed up to stay higher up the pitch and create. But then again, you have 38-year-old Maxi,
Yeah.
right? Do you want the oldest player on your team pulling 90s every game? Not necessarily,
No. Because
right?
remember, this is a long season, and eventually you're going to get to
Yeah.
August, September, October,
And they have the option if they don't start Maxi, they have
and
the
again, this
option
streak coming up too.
say, oh yeah, exactly in
Yeah.
May. They have the option if you don't start Maxi
Mhm.
to play Aiden in a single pivot and Johnny and Keaton in a dual eight kind of thing,
Mhm.
right? And so they have many options within that midfield, and I'm super interested to see what we're gonna get. I'm going to be that guy and say I actually bank on Pascal valuing the energy that Johnny brings.
Mhm.
And I could see, and it seems he's pretty reliant on Maxi. So I could see actually Aiden supplanting Keaton, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm open to being very
It's
wrong about that because it's still
plausible.
Keaton
I mean,
Price. It's still, yeah.
the whole Aiden thing also opens up the question about what's going to happen, possibly with James Sands going forward, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that was one of the first things I saw when they signed Aiden. I was like, I wonder if they're going to part ways with Sands at this point and figure something else out. I don't know, but as
yeah.
far as Aiden goes, I mean, it's going to take him a game or two to get probably acclimated. He's been also brought in for this period that's coming up, these 5 game stretch, to really get
Right.
him some legs. I could probably see him, maybe not against Cincinnati, but I could definitely
Yeah.
see him getting minutes against the Riverhounds
Yeah.
because the game on three
Um,
days rest. It's a USL team, so
yeah.
you better in theory win. And listen, we cover the the Riverhounds anyway. I got guys over there tonight, so I'm pretty familiar with that roster as it is. And NYCFC, even with a secondary roster, should be able to beat the Riverhounds on that one.
I saw a funny post from the City Boys, where they call him the Australian James Sands, right?
I did see that. Yes.
And jokes aside, by the numbers, he performs exactly the
Hmm.
way Jimmy did, right? So
Yeah.
bringing him in, it's a huge statement. It says a lot about not just what they feel like they needed, but also the futures of a lot of players.
Hmm.
Justin, who has pulled kind of he's moonlighted in between center back and CDM. I could see him now pretty much permanently residing at center back
Hmm.
because I don't see him supplanting Johnny, Keaton, Aiden, or obviously Maxi in that midfield. It's situational, maybe like today, where the sub makes way for Justin to move up into that midfield, but
Hmm.
I just don't see him starting as a midfielder anymore, and that's fine. I think his best spot is on the back line, and not to stay too much on that. But
Sure.
Aiden, Aiden's acquisition was definitely like a very much a statement by the club, like just how they see the shape of things, and I'm just interested to see what that midfield makeup is going to look like.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
Uh, so you think what?
I was going to say I think I'm going to basically right now I'm going to stick with Johnny Shore getting less minutes. Keaton is going to stay put for now. That's what I'm thinking. But it'll remain to see whether I'm right on that. Um, I don't know.
That's yeah.
We'll
That's
open it
that's
up.
the smart. That's a smart man's bet.
And
Absolutely.
I think,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, because you just got to go with the youth aspect of it, and
Hmm.
you're playing the long. I mean, listen, I said that about Jovan last year anyway. They had
Mm.
Jovan for like a 5 year deal. He was 18 years old, and I'm like, they're benching him right now so he can watch and learn because they're playing the long game with him, and then it's out to Belgium.
Yeah.
So they proved me wrong on
Yeah.
that one. But I mean, listen, one of the two is going to go. Maybe both. Maybe both get less minutes, but above our
Yeah.
pay grade, I think.
Right. Maxi had a better game than he's been having.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's not really looked like himself like to start the season. Obviously it's still Maxi, but he just, he's starting to finally uh, show his age a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But today was one of the better games from him.
Sure.
Um, Hannes had what I think was actually like a really amazing game.
He
He
charged.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of him on the right. A lot of I have conversations with a bunch of guys about my apprehensions to that. I think he would be a lot better on the left, playing more directly down the line, but he actually performed pretty well coming inside, and it was his pass to Alonso um, that created the danger, that created the penalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
there's some merit to that needs to be given to Hannes. In regards to the conversation of left or right. Uh, Augustine was sub for Julian,
Yes.
and I saw I was reading Matt Doyle's piece the other day, the section about New York City, and he all but said that it seems as if Julian and Augustine are misses
Mm-hmm.
at this point. Just because they haven't lived up to their promise, right?
Hmm.
And I wouldn't put the stamp on it just yet.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. It's too early for that. I mean,
I
I don't know.
wouldn't put that stamp on it just yet, but it feels as if I'm waiting to see.
Who can you throw out there though? That's the question.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, I think Augustine is probably struggling because he's being asked to play on the left, play
Mm-hmm.
inverted on the left, and I don't think he's truly savvy enough to do that effectively. I think he would be better. That's really why I kind of prefer Hannes playing on the left. Not really because I think he's better on the left, but because I think it would facilitate a better performance from Ojeda on the right side
Mm-hmm.
playing directly. I actually trust that Hannes would. Hannes can perform well on either side, whereas Augustine, I'm pretty sure would be a lot better on the right side. But you know
Yeah,
that
but then of course, obviously that throws in the whole Hannes Wolf thing. But you would prefer
yeah
Hannes on the left anyway, though.
yeah
Uh,
absolutely.
hmm.
And Alonso.
Yeah, I'll throw that comment in there. I mean, Alonso we talked about already anyway, but as we go into him a
Yeah.
little bit more, I mean,
Oh, I do have something to say about Alonso. I mean, I feel like I've mentioned this before in previous streams, but Alonso, it feels as if we have an over reliance
yes,
on just bombing it to him,
6 of the 12
and
goals this season are Alonso.
it's an over reliance on him and his contributions in general, which I don't mind. I don't mind that we have a talismanic striker who can get us results, right? But what I don't like is how we try to carve out those moments for him. Um,
You get a good
I
defense that knows how to lock in on him. Yeah, you'll neutralize him. And
absolutely,
I think the rest of the league is getting better at that.
yeah, I think they're figuring out how to defend against that. It's not really that hard to defend against that either. It's you're just defending the space and you're preventing long balls from being dangerous. They're 50-50s anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, but my issue with Alonso, we're getting lucky that he's really just a killer. He really is a killer. We're lucky that he's a killer and
He's
he's
having a better
developing more
season than
towards
I
it.
thought he was going to have. But
I had a feel. My bet was that he was going to score 20 goals or more. Now, will he hit that mark? Probably not. But I did think he was going to outperform his last season's mark of what was it, 16?
16 last year, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Uh,
at 6 right now, but
I just don't think there's enough variety in the types of touches and the areas that he's receiving it.
mm-hmm.
I would love to see him come to the ball more, combine and build up, and just kind of create some questions for the defense to ask, like, "Hey, should we push up the line? Should we risk that? Should we compress the space because he's adding numbers to the midfield? And when you do that, now you create that space in behind to then bomb it in behind. But you know, I just feel like we're very one dimensional in how the team is very one dimensional in how they try to get him on the ball, and it's a little concerning. But
Yeah,
they
I
get
mean,
the result.
I predicted. I thought it was going to be a little off. We'll call him not a sophomore. We'll call it sophomore jinx, because I figured teams were going to start to adapt to him. It easily could have been a 0-0 match today, and I was starting to believe it was going to be, about midway through that second half. But I don't know. I mean, you take the wins, you take the points.
You do.
But
And now they come
again,
back home with that momentum. But again, what?
But again, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because they got a litany of matches coming up. One thing I want to mention that I found very interesting, and I looked this up before. In this case, they're actually they're playing 4-1-4-1. I was like, not a format you normally see. It's curious because NYCFC this season has had their best success when their opponents play a 4-2-3-1. And I was curious about that. Originally, I was under the impression it was I thought today was actually it was a 4-2-3-1 for for Toronto. Maybe I was wrong, but
I could double check that. Hold on.
yeah, check that in the beginning there because if I'm right on that, then NYCFC is now 3-1 when their opponent throws out a 4-2-3-1. If that it might mean everything, it might mean nothing. But
4-1-4-1.
4-1-4-1. Okay, married, fair to fair.
Yeah.
So,
did you want to talk about some of the fixtures coming up?
Yeah, we definitely can, and we probably should. I mean, we're not going to go too crazy with it, but holy Hannah, this is going to be a rough thing. Now, we probably did know this already, but there was originally the Riverhounds game was going to be on the 7th. I'm sorry, on the 6th. Which the team was like, no, we're not playing a game on Sunday and another game on Tuesday.
Right. Holy crap. That would be crazy.
I know, look at the schedule, man. That's brutal.
Wow.
And Cincy is a baller of a team there. I mean, Evander has really gotten himself comfortable up there.
Yeah. That Cincy game's gonna be tough. Then that Open Cup game. I would love to see a really rotated squad for that one. I'm talking about. Yeah, I would love to see Carrizo. I would love to see a midfield of Johnny Carrizo and maybe Keaton or Aiden, right? Backing them up. I would love to see maybe even a Max Murray. You know what I mean? It's not to say that the Open Cup isn't an important fixture, but just I'd like to see a pretty rotated squad for that one.
Yeah, I think, like I said, given that schedule, you kind of have to. I'm sorry, I cut you off there. My bad.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
But in this case, I mean, you've got 3 games in literally 5 days, 6 days. You got 3 games in 6 days there, and yeah, granted, both of your games that you have, 2 of those games are at home. And Pittsburgh's not that far out, and Highmark Stadium is a nice stadium. I mean, I've seen it; it's a nice setup. But I think with this schedule, I think you're going to have to look at all your backups, and I'm talking like maybe even Alex Rando, or somebody like that. Not even Freeze, but you look at Johnny's going to get some time. That's where I'm thinking Aiden McNeil's going to get some time. Where he can fit in, maybe sub in for the game against Cincinnati late, but he'll get a lot of minutes for a match like that where he can really gel in a less pressured environment because the Riverhounds will draw 2,000 to 3,000 a game roughly, and that's a midweek game on top of it. That's not even a weekend game.
Right.
So,
the New York City Montreal game.
Yeah, Montreal. They were the first team in the league this year to actually axe their coach because I think because they had a brutal run there for like 7 straight losses.
Oof.
At the moment, they're currently at 4 points in 10 games. And historically, if I remember right, it's really good against Montreal.
Okay. Then you have DC. They go down to DC.
And you know who they're going to probably face in goal?
Who are they going to probably face in goal?
Barraza.
Oh my days.
Barraza is the new starter. He's playing right now against they're playing Subaru Park in Philly, and Barraza's in goal right now.
Oh wow, that's what it's just a year of reunions, huh? Ronnie Dyla in Atlanta, Sean in Toronto today, Luis Barraza.
Yeah,
It's just um the the hauntings of exes.
dude, really?
Um, then you have the Hudson River Derby on the
Yes.
17th.
Is that Citi Field or is that Yankee Stadium? Citi Field. Okay.
City,
And
okay.
it's an afternoon game too.
The last time they played them at Citi Field, it was a win. So uh, we'll see how that
Yeah,
goes.
last time they played the Red Bulls, it wasn't. Last time they played the Red Bulls at Citi Field, it wasn't.
Oh wait, oh was that a city?
Was.
Oh
Yeah,
no! Oh
yeah,
my
that
goodness!
2-0 loss, which ended the career of Nick Cushing in New York,
Oh
was a 2
this.
0 loss at Citi Field.
Oh, I forgot that. I blocked it out of my memory. It was too traumatic.
Yeah, it's funny because so many of us were just like, on Carlos and JJ, or like we're
Mhm.
thinking ahead. Basically, once you beat the Red Bulls, then you move on to the finals, and it's just like the Red Bulls were having none of that.
Absolutely not. The
Give
Rebels.
credit to Sandro Schwartz; he has done a really nice job over there.
Yeah, yeah. They knew what to do. They knew what to
Yeah,
do against us. Then you have Chicago,
there's
who
a week
by
off
that
on that one though, but
yeah. Then you have Chicago, who by that time might have KDB.
not facing Berhalter too, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. I really another reason why I like the Aiden O'Neal
Mhm,
acquisition is it kind of makes the bed for a KDB landing,
mhm,
even though it's never going to happen. But it's not it makes it more possible because you know who's going to be the ball winner in that midfield if without Aiden there if you bring in
mhm.
KDB, right? But now that they brought in a bona fide six, it kind of opens up the possibilities a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, this is a step in the right direction.
It
And
is.
I
It
think
is. It's what
you
they
need
needed.
that a little bit. And it's funny because a lot of the comments that were coming through yesterday were like, "Oh, David Lee does do things."
He really waited until the final seconds of the shot clock to put up a shot.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Speaking of waiting to the final seconds, Shador Sanders is now a Cleveland Brown.
Oh, good for him.
Went in the
Good
fifth
for
round.
Good for him. It's hopefully the intention works, which it
Mhm.
won't. They're trying to humble him with making him go so late. Um
The Browns historically are not good at quarterback.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. Good luck
But
to
yeah,
him.
that's a conversation for another time. I can talk the draft all day long, but
Yeah.
uh, overall, maybe close this out. I'm thinking a good win by NYCFC, 3 points, clean sheet. You stopped the Toronto team that very quietly had gone 1-0-3 in its last four.
Yeah.
So yeah, 6 points in 4 games after a bit of a struggle early on, and not easy games either. I mean, okay, they beat RSL, but they also drew against Inter Miami on the road, and also had a draw against Vancouver and also Minnesota.
Oh, Vancouver's been good too. And
Vancouver
Minnesota. Oh wow. Oh
they gave up
wow.
they gave up only one goal combined to Inter Miami, Minnesota, and Vancouver, and RSL
Wow.
too in the last four. So the fact that NYCFC even picked up the one goal on that was a
Right.
pretty big deal because that team is starting to link up on its defense.
How
Give
much
it,
how
give,
much
hmm?
how much of these results, I really don't want to be a negative Nancy, but how much of these results like these ones, how much of it is we're just getting lucky?
Some of it's luck, but you know what? That's anything. The ball takes a
Yeah.
weird bounce. I saw something in a minor league baseball game where a guy hit a broken bat single because the ball bounced off the broken part of the bat.
Wow.
It went out. The shortstop was going to routinely grab it, and then somehow the bat got there first. It bounced off the broken end of the bat and shot left.
Wow.
Sometimes luck is all it takes.
Sometimes it is, man. I just
You
hope
know,
that they can, ride this wave, kind of build this momentum off of this and get some good results at home
yeah.
because this is the right timing for this, you know?
Yeah, but like I said, that match against Cincy is going to be tough. CF Montreal is beatable. Chicago, I think, is beatable. But Cincinnati is starting to really go on all cylinders now.
Yeah, it seems
And
so.
that's a team, like I said, it took a little while to readjust from who do they let go? Evander's in now, but who's the guy they had last year?
Lucho?
Lucho, thank you. Lucho Costa.
Yeah.
So, but they're starting to, like I said, really figure out what they want to do at this point. They've won 4 straight going into, including today. They have 4 straight, five straight. Yeah, 5 straight and 6 points in 6. So, not
All
a team to
right.
be through that. So, all right. So, I don't know. Do you have anything else?
That's about it, I
Yeah, I think
think.
so too. So,
Yeah.
all
Sums it
right.
up. Nice
Yeah.
little 3 points.
Yeah. 30 minutes, not too bad. We can live with that. So,
Yes, sir.
all right. So, we will be back on all this kind of stuff. I think if I can figure out a way to make it work, depending because it's midweek, I'm going to talk to Bill or Ed, the guys that cover the Riverhounds for us. And maybe I can get they do a show called Pittsburgh Sports Desk anyway. So I'll
Gotcha.
see if I can get them to come in and maybe talk a little bit about the Riverhounds from their perspective.
Cool. Yeah.
Sometime before or after that match. I'll see what I'll talk to them about it once they're done tonight. But
Okay.
but yeah, no, I think that's going to be fun to see them over at Highmark. I'm excited about that a little bit. Dude, it's a weird blending of worlds. Like I said, we cover the Riverhounds. They were the first USL team we covered. And there they are. So, anyway, thanks, Halen. I think we're good at this point.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Take care, guys. Stay awesome.